From unremarkable photocopier salesman to mastermind of Australia's largest ever corporate fraud, the allegations against Bill Pappas are staggering. He's accused of netting almost $500 million in an audacious and deviously simple scam. And so far, he seems to have gotten away with it. That's because instead of explaining himself, Pappas has done a runner and fled the country. But in this joint investigation between 60 Minutes, the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, we track him down, living a very good life in Greece. The ancient city of Athens is a long way from Bill Pappas's working-class upbringing in Western Sydney. But perhaps the ruins here are somewhat symbolic of the life, or more specifically, career, he's left behind. While his victims are still trying to make sense of how the wannabe business magnate allegedly stole an extraordinary $500 million, it turns out the man himself certainly isn't short of money. Despite there being an arrest warrant for him in Australia, Bill Pappas is now living the good life in Greece. This is the first footage of him since he fled the country, effectively thumbing his nose at our court system and those he allegedly fleeced.
How do you sleep at night knowing that people are after you? Knowing that you owe so many people so much money.
Your business is burned here in Australia and
Yep.
he's having a great time in Greece.
How do people get away with this?
Congratulations on your selection and your spot within the Forum Leadership Program.
The rise of Bill Pappas was remarkable. An unlikely multimillionaire off the back of a business that leased photocopiers. He then expanded his commercial interests and even sponsored the world-famous Liverpool Football Club. His company, Forum, was built on a culture of winning at all costs. As far as aggressive sales cultures go, there's this sort of image, perhaps, of Leonardo DiCaprio smashing his chest in Wolf of Wall Street.
You be ferocious. You be relentless. You be telephone terrorist.
Would that have been out of place at Forum?
No. That movie was very well spoken about. It was quoted often.
That was almost the inspiration in the office there.
Yeah, absolutely inspiration. Yeah.
But what appeared from the outside to be a successful business fell apart spectacularly when Pappas was accused of forging signatures and faking contracts to cheat money out of the big banks. Ever seen a fraud this big before?
No, I've never seen a fraud this big.
It's a modern-day bank heist. It's just been conducted over 3 years.
Bill Pappas continues to evade authorities, but tonight we track down the fugitive allegedly behind the biggest fraud in Australian history. When you think of photocopiers, you don't exactly associate them with lifestyles of the rich and famous. But Bill Pappas went from Xerox to hero, collecting a fleet of high-powered sports cars, luxury yachts, and mansions across several states off the back of his apparent business success. One of his properties on the central coast of New South Wales hit the market recently, and with an asking price of more than $12 million, even had model and winner of the block, Elise Knowles, brought in for the promo campaign.
Agave is all about embracing luxurious coastal living at its finest.
Was there a sense that Bill was living at large?
Yes, absolutely. But Bill was large. You know, that's the way he lived and that's the way he spoke and that's the way he operated.
How are we going to execute within time frame?
Nigel Watts is a leadership consultant who Bill Pappas brought in to help grow his business, Forum. What do you think made him tick?
He wanted to be successful, you know, and he wanted to be famous and he wanted to be celebrated. There's this sense of hubris, his self-confidence, and that delivery under pressure was amazing.
So, you know, it's the old, he could sell sand to the Egyptians.
Ice to Eskimos, you know, and make you feel like you're an important part of the process. And that was his magic.
Bill's business model was simple enough. He managed to become the photocopier provider of choice for a number of big brands like Coles, Woolworths, Westtrac and Veolia. Not only did his Forum Group provide the machines, importantly, they also managed the paperwork so those clients could get finance with the big banks.
I often walk around in the city or something occasionally and I'll think about the rivers of money that are flowing right that very second. Because every time you press a printer, every time you press it, you're given money. You're giving money to some printing company, whoever you sign up with. They're getting paid and it's ongoing.
Who knew it was such a cash cow?
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Stuart Burnett was a salesman at Forum who ended up quitting. Something about the culture there just didn't sit right with him.
Oh, well, they're pretty ruthless. It's a ruthless industry and they were really ruthless. They, they hired people who were and, they went for it.
Bill Pappas had grand plans. Not content with just his photocopier business Forum, he somehow secured more capital to also establish an environmental waste disposal business called Audacious, which he launched internationally on the back of a deal with Liverpool. Bill holding up the Liverpool shirt, he's just done a deal with one of the most famous clubs in the world. In your mind, you're thinking, how is this happening?
Well, I remember being with some of the execs at Forum when that came out. It was like, what? This is amazing. And again, knowing Bill over time, you just shook your head and thought, that's Pappas. He's a maverick. He's able to pull these things out.
There seemed to be rivers of gold with everything Bill Pappas touched, but in May last year, an eagle-eyed client identified some red flags. The finance manager at heavy equipment business Westtrac made an alarming discovery. There were a series of loans taken out in the company's name with Westpac that they'd never actually signed up for.
She was quite adamant that the numbers didn't add up. She pushed and pushed, and finally Westpac sent the contracts through, and it arrived with the CEO's signature of Westtrac. And that wasn't his signature. He'd never seen these documents before. And that's when Westpac started to realise that they had a problem.
Sarah Dankert is a business reporter at The Age and Sydney Morning Herald, which have acquired a series of frantic emails between Westpac and clients of Bill Pappas's business Forum. One email from a manager at Australian Liquor and Hospitality, the largest pub landlord in Australia, is the perfect example of the panic that set in. Just like Westtrac, the manager was completely unaware of a number of loans that he had apparently signed off on for the business.
I have never cited or seen the attached documents. The signature is definitely not mine, and the title on the documents is not mine.
By June last year, Westpac was in a spin. Forum had organised $290 million in loans for its clients with the bank. The problem was, the clients didn't know anything about them, and now Westpac was fearing it had been duped.
From there, they went to start contacting a whole range of other customers, and time again, whether it be Australian Liquor and Hospitality, whether it was Coles, whether it was Centre, which owns all the Westfields, time and time again, those companies had never seen those contracts. The executives had never signed the documents.
So literally hundreds of signatures were forged?
Absolutely, yes.
And who do investigators say did the forging?
The investigators say that it was Bill Pappas who did the forging. Time and time again, it's Bill Pappas.
A confident character, Bill Pappas agreed to meet with a client in Western Australia as this scandal erupted to explain what he assured them was simply a misunderstanding. He sent a text message saying, "I'm just in transit to Perth. Look forward to getting this done quickly." But as nervous business leaders arrived at the meeting, they couldn't believe what happened next. Xanthi Football Club in Greece's Super League 2 is hardly the pinnacle of European football, but But sometimes you need a leader with big dreams to take you all the way to the top. And in 2020, the club was bought for $15 million by an unlikely investor with a vision for greatness. Greek media was summoned to meet the team's new owner, Bill Pappas, and his newly hired Australian coach, Tony Popovic.
Και θα το κερδίσω. Να είστε σίγουροι γι' αυτό. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Pappas boasted he wanted to make his team the launching pad for Socceroos players in Europe. This was a vanity project, flaunting his wealth for everyone to see. The money we're talking about is huge here. Where's the cash?
Mainly in Greece, we think.
Business reporter Sarah Dankert started taking an interest in Bill Pappas's fortune the following year, when suspicions began to arise that his empire might actually have been the result of the biggest corporate fraud in Australian history. In June last year, Pappas was summoned to meet one of his clients, Westtrack, in Perth, which believed he had forged signatures so his business Forum could take out bank loans worth millions of dollars. When did Bill realise that the jig was up?
So June 15 is the day that Bill is supposed to be flying to Perth. So in the background, Westpac and Westtrack have nutted out a plan for Westtrack to get Bill Pappas into the office, and then they'll surprise him with the fake loan documents, ask him questions about it, and the whole time Westpac was, in on the meeting, knew it was happening, and Bill just never turned up.
So he told them he was flying to Perth, meanwhile he's booking flights to Greece.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I've spoken to Bill a couple of times, via telephone, obviously. His opinion was that it was just a misunderstanding and that had it played all the way through, then this would not have been seen as a fraud. Nothing that I have seen suggests that that's an accurate description of what actually happened. It has what machines...
McGrath Nickel partner Jason Ireland is the liquidator in this case, and it's his job to now figure out how Bill Pappas managed to get away with a scheme like this for so long. So for a contract like this, $4 million worth of machines agreed to in that deal, how many of those actually went to the customer?
In this one, none. That is not a real contract. That is a contract that appears to have been forged.
Jason has been in this game for decades, but even he is amazed by the depth of this alleged fraud.
Our forensic team looked at nearly 5 million pieces of evidence, including WhatsApp messages, emails, bank statements. 150 bank accounts were in this business. So we've looked at 110,000 transactions. When you go through the amount of data we went through, it actually comes through very clearly what happened and where the money went.
How did this scam work?
As a real business, Forum did two main things. It provided photocopiers and other office equipment to businesses, and also then provided food digester waste machines to largely hospitality-based businesses. Forum would then put together the documentation so that the customer wanted the machine, so that the customer would pay a monthly fee for them, and then they would take those documents to banks, and banks would fund the purchase of the machine. Now, unfortunately, what it looks like is the vast, vast majority of those contracts were not real. And this was part of the well-executed nature of the fraud. The customer was real. The customer was a very well-known company in many cases. But the contracts and their want for the machines was not real.
It's not just Westpac, but two other big banks that have fallen victim to this scam as well. The repayments on the dodgy loans were made like clockwork. Not a single one was ever missed. If they had been, then the banks may have asked questions much earlier.
It seemed to start in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then by the end of it, it was sort of millions of dollars in each contract. So it got progressively bigger.
It was just always smoke and mirrors. You just could never get a direct answer out of these people. Can we please get this pallet here on the B trailer, please?
It's not just big banks that were duped by Forum. Deb Roberts is the CEO of Quantum Transport Solutions, south of Sydney. She engaged Bill Pappas's business to help streamline her own operations with a computer software system that she says not only was never delivered, but left her out of pocket. What's Forum done to your business?
It's cost me a lot of money. At the time, I was angry, gutted. How do you get over that? They've got a contract that says that you've agreed to this, but they've not provided a service. Got a dog. There's a lot of small businesses that have lost money. $180,000 to me is a lot of money that they've cost me. How can you do that?
So what's the shortfall, I guess?
There's a real chance that the shortfall is the entire amount that was taken.
500 million?
It'll be hundreds of millions. And that's because the money is not sitting anywhere.
Liquidator Jason Ireland and his team at McGrath Nicol are now left trying to figure out if Bill Pappas has a secret stash of cash somewhere that can be used to pay back those who are out of pocket. But so far, the signs aren't great, in Australia at least.
A large amount, so hundreds of millions of dollars, went into the business, just paying the operating costs of the business. Maybe $50 million into properties, and then other sort of lifestyle assets, as we've called them, cars, yachts, jet skis, trailers to carry those various things, racing cars.
A lot of fraudsters use the money they make to fund a luxury lifestyle. And yes, Bill Pappas was doing that to an extent, but does it seem to you that he was almost really using it to prop up this dream of being, a big shot businessman?
Absolutely. The fraud, without the fraudulent loans, the business was completely insolvent. And so when the fraud or alleged fraud was uncovered and those funds stopped, the rest of the business collapsed.
How much money do you think has been siphoned off to Greece?
It's tens of millions of dollars. At the moment, our investigations continue because we can see the money going to Greece. It just goes to a number of different entities.
Bill Pappas has told investigators he can't even afford an airfare home from Greece to answer questions in court. But we've tracked him down, and it certainly appears he's still leading a life of luxury. We zeroed in on him in the ritzy suburb of Glyphartha, known as the Riviera of Athens. There was no sense of the drama he left behind in Australia, sharing kisses with his partner as they casually roamed the streets. She was parading a Chanel handbag, and he enjoyed some shopping as well, slinging a bag from Hugo Boss over his shoulder. Bill says he doesn't have the cash to come home. Does his lifestyle reflect that?
No. So he's living a good life over in Greece, and in fact, there's large suspicions that he took a lot of the money overseas with him. He's been going to high-end hotels, he's been going to cafes and restaurants, he's been travelling around Greece. He's been having a pretty good time since he's been there.
Pappas has also been photographed attending games at Xanthi, the Greek football club he bought with allegedly stolen funds. And for the time being, he can seemingly continue living the good life without any serious threat of being dragged back to Australia. Can he be extradited from Greece?
Yeah, okay, so that's a really good question. Yes, technically he can. I think we'd all remember the example of Tony Mockbell being extradited from Greece. It'd be hard to forget the wig. And so, yes, it is possible we have an extradition treaty over there. But at the moment, Bill Pappas, and I think this is important to note, at the moment, Bill Pappas hasn't been accused about anything by the police. He's been accused by the bank in a civil matter. They're not going to get him back. There's a contempt of court matter, which is where an arrest warrant's been issued, but technically under the law, if he pays money into the court, he can stay in Greece and not be extradited as part of that arrest warrant because he can defend the matter from Greece.
So he's not coming home anytime soon?
He's not coming home, Tom, no.
In terms of any potential criminal prosecution, New South Wales Police has confirmed to us it is investigating Bill Pappas for fraud, but it can't comment publicly at the moment on the progress of that investigation. Earlier today, we received a legal letter containing a curious message from Bill Pappas. In it, he claimed there was another side to this story, adding he intends on responding at an unspecified time. But for now, he wants to focus on his health.
I just can't stand the way he just looks so smug.
But is it almost rubbing it in your face?
It is rubbing it in my face. Like, look at me. No one's going to touch me.
Deb Roberts is one of the many people left in the lurch by Bill Pappas. She's now conceded it's likely she'll never see her money again and can't help but think that it's her cash that's funding this fugitive's second coming on the Mediterranean. There'd be some people out there that say, good on Bill Pappas, he stitched up the big banks. But there's small businesses like yours that have been absolutely torn apart along the way.
It does a lot of damage. Like, there's no trust. You don't trust other businesses now. Karma will get them, won't they?
What is karma for Bill Pappas?
Karma? I don't know, it's around the corner. Every dog has their day, and his day is coming. It's very numbered.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au, as well as the 9Now app.